Hi guys, I'm Kat, and today I'm doing a miniature collaboration with 4 other talented artists, just in time for Thanksgiving. We have Bentley House Miniatures, who blends the realistic and the fantasy together. We also have Kraken, make Ruckus, who creates these amazingly detailed and often working 1 in 24 scale miniatures. There's Fatal Potato, who specializes in hyper-realistic miniature food from polymer clay. And of course, Square Despair, who's a one-stop miniature shop from books to pillows to entire homes with a modern twist. My contribution to this collaboration was a fantasy under-the-seas themed aquarium furniture that actually can go underwater and act as aquarium furniture. Now this is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. So let's go on ahead and get started. I'm using a V8 splash bottle for this. This is going to be the main part of the table, and I'm only going to use from the neck up to that first little bin there. But of course, you can use any bottle that you like that fits your needs. I used a hacksaw to cut off the neck and an X-Acto knife to cut off the rest of it. But I didn't show any of the cutting parts because, as you can see, I have a small bandage on my finger, which means there was blood involved. Once I had everything cut, I went on ahead and sanded it down so it was smooth on all sides. And then using one of these plastic champagne flutes that are purchased at dollar stores or also just online, I'm going to only pull off the base and use that as the base to my table. Now I've made table bases before that are clear. I'm going to put a link to a video of that in the description box below. I used E6000 to glue it together, and then a little water to test it out to make sure that it was waterproof. Then I began to pour some resin. Now I'm using a 2-part resin, and for this particular resin, you just pour in 1 of each part and mix it together thoroughly. Then I'm using some sand from, well, I live near a beach now, so basically my backyard. Now because this is actual beach sand, I had to rinse it out and dry it several times before I can use it, just to remove the high salt content. And then I mixed in some resin with it and mixed it thoroughly. Then I added my sand into the bottom of my table, and smoothed it out as much as I could. Now I cheated for this, and I went to PetSmart and purchased a small pack of tiny little aquarium ornaments. But because we're working in miniature, they are still too big. So I'm going to pull these apart. They've been hot glued into a resin base, so it's actually pretty easy to remove. And because they were hot glued into a base, I'm going to use hot glue to create the new base. Simply put a little hot glue on some plastic and push your plant in. Then, while my resin sand was still wet, I added my ornaments to it and pushed sand around it to secure it. Once the resin hardens and cures completely, the plants will be stuck in place. Then I gave them a good rinse, just to make sure I had all the raw sand out and all the inside of the plastic cleaned out as much as I could. I used a small plastic circle from some plastic packaging to place on top as a tabletop. Unfortunately, after I rinsed out my table, I did forget to allow it time enough to dry. So then when I added my E6000 became filled with some of the water and didn't completely dry clear. Then I used a simple syringe that I got from a Publix pharmacy and filled that with water. Then I placed that over the hole and squeezed that in place. Moving on to the chairs, I'm using a 1 1/4 inch square and some plastic clear straws from some Juicy Juice juice boxes. I cut the straws into 1 1/2 inches each and made 2 back legs for each chair. Then I used another straw that was slightly longer and cut that to a 10-degree angle that I'm going to glue on the back of the chair at a slant. Now you want to liberally apply this E6000. You can always scrape off the excess later, but you want to make sure that your chair legs are drying with no gaps, because of course you're going to drop several drops of resin into it. Drop the resin on the side so that it won't fill with air bubbles, but you may wish to keep a needle on nearby. And once you have your plastic leg straws filled about halfway up, you can insert a small piece of leftover aquarium plant. Then follow up with a little more resin sand. On a whim at the last minute, I decided to add some resin to the back of the chair seats, and then I added some additional plant life there. Then I used additional straws that were 2 1/8 inches tall, and I glued those onto the top of the chair once the chair is cured. I also cut out a small piece that was 1 inch by 1 1/4 inch. Then I added a little bit of sand into the top straws, followed by a few drops of resin, followed by more plants and more resin. Then I did the seat backs the same as I did with the seats, and then I glued those in place. Once everything is dried and cured, you could drop this into your aquarium, but you want to make sure with the table that you have no air bubbles on the inside. And for this, I had to go on ahead and open up one of the side pieces just a little bit so that the air bubbles could flow out. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and don't forget to visit my other collab partners today. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Bye!